are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Hit the record button.
Gosh, that's swell.
Hello. Hello,
Hello.
Hi, Pogo. Hi.
Hi,
How you
Victor.
doing? Long time
Hi.
no see.
I know, it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. But I'm so glad because we are miles away. I don't even know how many miles away from here to Oregon, but
We're
we actually have.
935 miles away.
I knew you would know that. How did I know that? I was about to Google it, but I was like, no, you know what? Pogo's got the answer.
I used to drive it a lot, so I've got it down.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this Pogo Saito, she's in Oregon now. And I'm in Los Angeles, California, quarantined in my little, little place here somewhere in LA. I'm not gonna say where because I don't want to have the troops come and get me. Because
That's right, yeah. In these days, it's best to be part of the resistance.
Yeah, for those that are listening in the future, we are in a very, very strange era where there's so much confusion, there's so much chaos, so much hysteria over the coronavirus. Shall not be named
Yes.
because the minute we name it, they take it down. But, we're not here to talk about it.
No.
What's that?
I said if we pitched today in 2020 as a screenplay in 2015, they would tell us it was ridiculous and unrealistic, and no one would believe it.
Right. This is actually stranger than fiction. That's all I can say.
It
Right.
is.
Yeah. I don't believe anything.
Speaking of fiction,
coming
we
out
were
of my mouth.
talking about rabbits.
Maybe we should put it into mythology like that. If people would, those who understand, those who can, see past the rabbits or see past whatever characters, they probably, we should do that. Start a working title 2020 and see how it goes. But yeah, we're actually here because I just learned about Watership Down, which apparently has been going around for years, since 1972 actually, when I was born.
Yeah.
This book was published by Richard Adams. He's an English author, which I apparently had no idea about it, and it's been done a few times. It's actually been done as a movie as well in 1978 with John Hurt. John Hurt was in it, and then the one I just saw was the latest version, which is the Netflix picked up this series from the UK. Starring James McAvoy and other people, which I loved. I was telling you that I love that adaptation, even though I haven't read the book. So you have more knowledge than I do, but you said that you liked it, right?
I love the version. I really, the 70s one was, or the first incarnation film was fun, but I mean, the animation was of an era. Because really, how can you do talking rabbits except animation, really? So, but I think this Netflix one has a better quality animation, and they took more time with the story because they're Netflix, and they touched a little tiny bit on the folklore part that's only in the book, which I did like. But of course, anyone who's read the book, it's like the folklore part is so great, you want more of it, and it just never. It's such a concept to put out in a film version. It would be difficult because, I mean, it even has its own dictionary of words in the novel of rabbit language, their whole culture. It's really so imaginative.
Okay. And actually, I like to talk about that because from what I saw in the film, now my impression was at the beginning, basically there was a genesis in the version that I saw on TV. There was a genesis of how the rabbits came to be, and it was like an Adam and Eve story, like how they came up to be and how they were chased by many animals were were basically easy prey.
The hundred.
Yeah, very hunted. But there was also I thought was a very religious undertone. I don't want to say religious, but I would say religious.
It's definitely a spirituality. Yeah, the rabbits have their own spirituality, their own culture, their own lore, and in the animated version, you get that taste of it at the beginning. In the book, it's the header of chapters. The beginning of chapters has little sections of bits of legend. You learn more about. Sorry, that's my dog. He's being Rousby Rough, which I think the animated didn't have Rousby Rough, did it? Rousby Rough is what they talk about, the legend of El Hara, their god, and he battles one of the 100 enemies is Rousby Rough, which is a dog. So when they later are battling the dog, they talk about Rousby Rough because that's their name for a dog. And my dog was being Rousby Rough.
Did he catch that? I didn't catch many of the things because, like you say, there's many vocabulary that they use that is not. I guess it's a rabbit language, right?
Yeah. One of the best words that he came up with for these animals is the word tharn, Tharn, which is a state where rabbits are so afraid and stressed out they just can't even move, which, humans do that too. So anyone who's read the book, we will say someone, they're tharn. I've gone tharn a few times. But your whole system's just overwhelmed and you can't move. And
right. Whenever they see, and by the way, I'm gonna spoil some of the. Well, we're already doing it, right? We're spoiling the movie or the story. But if you haven't seen the movie or you haven't read the book, you may want to stop this podcast. And
spoilers coming.
Later. Was that?
Spoilers coming. Here come the spoilers.
Spoilers ahead. Yeah. But no, like you said, there's moments where for instance, they see the headlight. And they suddenly like, don't look at the light because they get petrified and they cannot move, or trains coming and stuff like that, and or dangers coming and they just freeze, right?
They go far.
So basically, I'm reading right now that it says here that he came up with another book published in 1986. He came up with a sequel to the story, Watership Down. But this time he actually added a grocery, Latin or Latin grocery. So you can understand like a dictionary. Like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? So
it's a really detailed world he creates. It's really wonderful for a reader.
Yeah.
It's a real joy.
And it's interesting that it was his first novel. It says here that it was his first novel. He didn't get published for a long time, and he was trying to get it published. Nobody wanted to pick it up.
They didn't quite get him first. Yeah, and then he kind of got free reign after that, and he did a real interesting variety of fiction that he's created over the years.
Right. So, why don't you tell us the story that you read? Because the book, like you said, is much more richer than the series of the movie when. So tell us about a little bit of the synopsis. Why do you like it so much too? Because you were telling me that this is one of the books that you come back to every once in a while to
I
read
do,
it
and
again.
it's got so many details and so much richness to it, and it's not just this adventure with rabbits or this rabbit folklore. It's also a parable for human beings. And my family was put in a prison camp back in World War II, and I've always been fascinated with how fear is used to manipulate the masses. And this novel really touches on that in multiple ways, because you have their original warren where they start, and Hazel and Fiver, who are sibling rabbits. Fiver's the one he's a little runt, and he's a psychic, and he has a dream that something terrible is going to happen, and how they try and get the other rabbits to believe. And for the most part, they don't want to believe, and they don't want to go against the status quo. But a few of them escape and it turns out it was a good thing, because Fiver's dream did come true. So they go on their journey, and they come into another group of rabbits, and these rabbits they seem so like magical and special and amazing, and they do poetry, and they don't act like normal rabbits, but they're luscious and beautiful, and their coats are silky, and they have amazing food to eat all the time, the finest food that most rabbits never have in their lifetime. And the only thing is that if someone disappears, they never speak of them. And then it turns out that they were not wanting to see a horrible situation. And then when cornered, these very peaceful, poetic rabbits are horribly violent when dealing with the fact that they are lying to themselves, which humans do that all the time. And then the rabbits get to their own home, and they have their own dynamics, just like people would. There's jealousies and power battles, and then they have to realize, like when Romulus and Remus made Rome, they realized, oh, we have no females. We will die out. We need some females. So they go to look for some female rabbits, some does, and in the adventures of that, they encounter another warren, and this warren is an obvious parallel for fascism. A very controlling lead rabbit, and these poor rabbits are just they're not free animals. They're basically slaves with the pretense that it's for their own safety, which I think we hear that a lot. When we're having fear herd the masses, it's always told, oh, it's for the greater good, it's for your safety. So that element of it has always fascinated me, and then you add in the legend aspect of their whole culture and their religion, and El Hra is their sort of Brer Rabbit / Jesus / Monkey King / Anansi character. He's a trickster, but he's self-sacrificing. He's wise, but he's mischievous. And how they emulate, they think, well, what would he do? What would he do? And they look to him so often, what would he do? And how what gets them through all of these trials is being like him. And the other rabbits have kind of lost their way in these other warrens of just power trips and ego or safety. And what really keeps rabbits alive from the 100, all their enemies, is that they're willing to be clever and brave and think out of the box all the time and always trust their instincts. And that's sort of a message for us human beings, too. We get very trapped in being safe and or being led around by fear or the promise of something easy. And what are the consequences? We're living in the consequences of three of those themes of the Watership Down we live in right now in the United States.
Yeah. And I like the fact that it was actually, even though it might seem like a children's fable story, it is very relatable to what's happening, to what's been happening now too. We're being oppressed. We're being oppressed.
I love that
I'm just like,
a child could
take
read
it
it.
there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A child could read that novel and get one story, and then 5 years later read it and see another level to the story, and then come back in 5 more years, because it's got that much going on, which is, I think, really masterful storytelling.
Yeah. I like the characters of obviously Hazel and Fiver. especially Hazel, because he's basically put on as a leader, even though he didn't want to be. But he just became a leader because he trusted his brother's vision. He was a visionary, Fiverr, and believed him enough to say, you know what, I believe you, and we are family, and you're my best friend, and all that. So his belief, I guess, is what made him interested to me. Like, I'm gonna trust you, even though I don't understand that you have business, and many people don't believe. So he believed in his brother. And, even the brother had no idea what's going on in the dream. Like, I don't know what I'm dreaming. I'm just telling you, there's danger here. I don't feel safe here. I don't feel safe here either. Everywhere they went is like, you don't see it, but I do, and I don't know what's going on, but something is not like, especially when they meet the group of the rabbits. I call them the red-haired rabbits. I don't know what they're called. And where they have this wonderful, like you say, they have a wonderful utopia for rabbits, right? All the food they want, and the wonderful caves, and they have the wonderful warren, and they have everything they need. So why do you need to leave?
And
like,
it's interesting that that's the only point in the story where Hazel doesn't want to listen to Fiverr. Like, that's because the most delicious food in the world, and all these cute girl rabbits, and all this amazing stuff. And here's Buzzkill saying, no, this isn't good. And he's just like, what do you mean? They've gone through so much to get there too, and that the comforts. And I think that's really key, because comforts are very seductive. Yes, there's fear, and yes, there's control, but boy, comforts, luxuries, that sort of thing is very seductive. And how that's the one point when he really almost didn't listen to his brother.
The U.S. Wow, it's wonderful. It's Hollywood. You have so much here. Why would you want to leave?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. You don't see it, but I do. Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we get used to, we're so spoiled here. And we think here we get it so good, and we don't even know how we're being controlled and how we're being fed this, wonderful carrots. Nice. There's death. There's death around the corner.
It's a trap. It's a trap.
One has to be sacrificed, right? Everybody once in a while is like, well, that's all we have to pay. One has to die so we can live in this nice place.
Well, and just even that pretense that nothing happened. I mean, we've all been gaslit like that before. And it's literally the gaslighting rabbits. They're like, well, we didn't speak of them. I mean, they just changed the subject. I mean, everybody's seen that behavior. We experience it all the time. We have a leader in office that does it daily. Oh no, I didn't say that. I said this. That's what those rabbits are doing. They're just gaslighting. They're gaslighting rabbits.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that yesterday, did I?
I said this. I'm a hero. I'm amazing. I saw it earlier. Yeah, up is down.
It's not deadly. Did I say it was deadly? Oh my goodness. And that was a very interesting part to it, because there was like a cult. I immediately saw the cult, how they were worshiping a mineral. I don't know what it was, a mineral, and they were praying to it. I didn't understand. Maybe in the book it expands, but that was interesting too. How there was this, cultish atmosphere.
Well, it's almost that it's almost a parallel for a false idol, because the rabbits should all be talking about El Ferra, the rabbit made of stars, like, who's their rabbit. But because they're so far off the path of being a rabbit, they're not tricksters anymore. They're not looking out for predators. They're pretending the predator doesn't exist. So they create a false idol. It's got a lot of interesting parallels, this book. I mean, it's so much more than a rabbit book.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to talk to you, because I'm like, well, who's better to know this than? And like when you read this, every once in a while, and you see different things. I think I would, if I had seen this as a kid, or if I was a kid and seeing this, and then seeing this as an adult, it suddenly has different meaning when I see it for the first time as an adult.
Yeah.
Now, imagining myself as a kid would have been kind of different to see this movie as a kid. But I think it was really cool how they didn't really dumb it down for kids or adults. It was really well presented, and they didn't have to, like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have to have a sidekick, and you don't have to have a comic relief. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, they didn't make it cutesy or anything. They just told the story.
No.
It was really.
I mean, they were cute. The animation was gorgeous, but I mean, it wasn't dumbed down like a lot of Disney movies or whatever. Movies
I also like that they didn't, because most people do just think rabbits are cute, and they talk about rabbits being scared, but he really, because he researches whatever animal perspective he writes from when he does those style of books, he's done like 3 of them, it makes people realize rabbits are actually really brave. They're very fearless when it comes to protecting. They'll fight to the death. And people don't always realize that. They just think, oh, rabbits are cute. But you really see kind of the nobility of the species in this book by learning these characters, which I appreciate that he stayed true to the species and then created a fantasy world based on what he knew about their behavior, and then reflected it even further into this whole parallel of humanity and human spirituality and human politics and human foibles. Really, it kind of blows my mind when I think about it, like how brilliant the whole concept of it is.
Yeah. It was unique. It was all the characters actually have so much depth to them. Everybody had their journey, so that was really cool. How you don't have just one story going on. You have like 2 or 3 going at once. And, I was up until 4 last night. I was like, I can't stop watching this. I love it. I love the stories. And what about the mean? Okay, what's the name of the mean character? The bunny, the giant. Which, by the way, I don't even know what kind of species of rabbit that is, but it's not a rabbit, is it? It's like a monster. One word?
Wormwort? Well, see, Wormwort,
yeah.
General Wormwort, he's just a big rabbit. He used to be a domestic rabbit. That's why he's so big. You don't learn that in the movie. In the book, you learn that he was a domesticated rabbit. So he was a big, well-fed, domesticated rabbit. So much bigger than a wild rabbit. But he managed to escape and live on his own and join. He had to learn the hard way how to be a rabbit. And I think also why he's probably so aggressive is he's overcompensating, but also he's not a natural rabbit. He was raised in a hutch. So he's taking human behaviors and putting them onto his warren, like having these bizarre shifts and giving people these chores and making it this fascist regime. He's taking human things and putting it onto the rabbit. So that's what's so odd about him. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, it was interesting because every deed that he was trying to harm them or kill them or chase them or anything, he wouldn't do it. Like, you do it.
Yeah.
You go and you chase them and you bring them and you fetch me this and you do this to me and you know what I mean? Like, he was ordering totalitarian, perfect example of the world leaders that we have today.
He's a true tyrant, an absolute dictatorial tyrant, narcissistic, like every red flag of a tyrant in a rabbit.
Exactly. But yeah, it came to a point where he had to do it himself, and he didn't want to do it. He's like, so you don't want to do it, but then at some point you have to do it. That seemed interesting to me. I'm like, that's cool. Because he would just look at somebody and be like, I'm doing it because you look so scared to me, and your eye is this. I don't even want to see it. And yeah, sure, whatever you say, but he wouldn't really punish you physically or anything. He would just be abusive verbally and psychologically. So a narcissist. Yeah. I knew him perfectly. I'm like, oh.
Well, he's such an excellent villain character, and you in the book, I believe there's something about him when he was a domestic rabbit. One of the, I think, how he got loose, I think, is that dogs attacked his hutch and he was chased by dogs, so he has a mortal fear of dogs, which then when you add in how his end happens in the book, it's a major karma sort of thing of his greatest fear is what he ends up dealing with despite creating this rabbit empire and being the grand tyrant of all these rabbits. He ends up being, scared and alone and, dealing with dogs. His biggest fear is a dog.
He has to face that at the end of the story. That was, very, very karmic.
Yeah.
There you go. But it was pretty interesting, all of it. I do want to read the book now because
I'm glad. I love turning people onto that book.
Yeah. Even though I have a lot of books to catch up to, I'm gonna add that one to the list. But there's something about this story that really will interest me reading the book. Just like Life of Pi, the movie Pi was interesting, but the book was a lot more interesting than the movie because of when the author goes into the I'm talking about Life of Pi. He goes into the life of an animal trapped in the zoo. What is his psychologically state and compared to an animal while in the wild. So it was really cool how he did that. He introduced all the characters. It was really, really more interesting than the movie. Even though the movie was fabulous, but yes, like too. I don't even know why it just, went under the radar for me. I'm like, and it was released in 2018, so I'm like, oh, it's already been out for a year, or 2 years. Should be, I don't know. And I read something funny today because I was writing something yesterday about Dr. Seuss, getting inspired by Dr. Seuss and whatever. But I read today that he was a big racist author, and he had his background to him, and I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my God. And so this Watership Down book should be now in books set up for many of the Dr. Seuss books, I guess, just to make it a little bit more even, right? Even though there's no schools now, but this should be for evaluation. But anyway.
Well, it's interesting because Watership Down so much about fear, and the reason why Dr. Seuss had his racist tirade was fear. It was World War II. He was very anti-Japanese because he was afraid. He was ashamed about it for the rest of his life. because he thought he was so, and that's the thing, he thought he was so self-aware. He'd been a political cartoonist since college, but the fear got to him. That's the dangerous thing about fear. It gets to all kinds of people.
Yeah.
Even Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, even Dr. Seuss, I was like, no. It's like when you learn that your favorite musician is a pedophile, or your favorite actor is a rapist and a narcissist. And, oh, another one. Yes, all heroes must come down, right?
Yes. Well, at least, Dr. Seuss at least was capable of evolving and looking inward and going, wow, I made a horrible mistake, and I feel ashamed of myself, and I'm going to try and be a different person, which, that's something to at least aspire to, because a lot of people won't do that. They'll defend that bad decision until the very end, kind of like the president.
Right. Yeah, basically. He never admits it's wrong, right? He never says, I apologize for saying this, or I apologize for grabbing the pussy, or saying that X, Y, and Z, for being a dick. He never says anything remotely. He doesn't show any sorrow or anything. Nothing. He's just, he's not even I think it's a psychopath. Not even enough. Went beyond that.
I'd say he's on that spectrum for sure.
Yeah. Oh God. Listen.
Well, I look forward to when you've read the book and seeing what you think when you read it, because I really think you're going to dig the Richard Adams world. He said, and maybe you'll start checking out his other books, because The Plague Dogs is wonderful. He has another book called, what is that book called? Oh, gosh. Traveler. It's the Civil War from the perspective of the horses of the soldiers. It's genius.
Oh, that's very cool.
And then he wrote a fantasy novel, kind of a sexual fantasy novel called Maya, which is a huge book, the whole world. I'm surprised it hasn't become a Game of Thrones kind of series yet. But really, Watership Down is just a special book.
And Plague Dogs? Have you ever read Plague Dogs?
Oh, Plague Dogs! I love that book. It's it's taken. I think it might have been taken from an actual event, but then he created a fantasy around it. But these two dogs escaped from a laboratory, and the company wants them back. But they also know the bad PR of what they've done to these dogs. One dog's head the brain is exposed from what they've done to him, and then the other dog, they don't know if he'll be violent, because all they've done is do a drowning test on him, stress test. Every day that dog was put in water to swim until he drowned, and then they bring him back. So they're both and these two dogs are bonded, and they're in the countryside, so they spread a rumor to the people that these dogs carry the plague, so that they'll catch them and bring them back to the lab. But they don't. They're just dogs who've been horribly abused who want freedom. And they have flashbacks to their other life and life in the lab, and then they're trying to, they've been living in a lab. They don't even know how to survive anymore, and how they find their way in the world. It's a really wonderful book. It's hard to read because these poor dogs have been through so much, but it's a really good story. Yeah. But it's definitely not like, oh, I feel so great after reading about what happened that day.
Does he always have, animals in his story, or is it just some examples that you're giving me?
No, he wrote a book called The Girl in the Swing, which actually the only one I haven't read. And then he wrote Maya, which is set in a whole fantasy world that he's created. She's a beautiful slave girl who becomes goes on all these adventures, becomes a royalty, a goddess, a courtesan, all these things, and finds her way. It's like a 1,000-page novel. It's huge. It's a whole world. So that one's people.
I can barely get through.
A lot of people doing people stuff.
Yeah, I can barely get through Little Prince last year. I'm really slow reader, not because I couldn't read any faster, but it's because I want to savor, you know what I mean? Savor every
Mhm.
scene. I don't know. I'm weird. Maybe I haven't. I need to practice more. But right now I'm reading a book by a local author. It's about his adventures with a neighbor who had a dog, a terrier dog that was always, barking and barking, and he would write complaints to the sheriff, which he never sent, because it turns out that he ended up adopting the terrier after the neighbor was sent to a home or something. And so the name of the book, I think, is called The Dog Log, because it's logging everything down. Anyways, I'm going to talk to him as soon as I'm finished. But even though it's 180 pages, I still cannot go through it in one day. Like, I have to take a break. I don't know why. I'm like that.
That's
I like
good,
to,
though, It's good to savor the words.
yeah, I mean, I think it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Even my own story, like I cannot read my script right now. And I have rehearsal tomorrow. And I haven't learned my own script. Yeah, that's going on right now, people. Not talking about the mother trials, which I'm gonna explain later, but it turns out it may not happen in June anymore. As you guys know, everything has been quarantined, and we're being Lysoled, and who knows what's going on. And so hopefully in June it happens, but it might have to be, who knows. I'm not going to announce anything yet. We don't know what's going on in the world.
Well, when it
How are you
does
keeping
happen, I'm excited.
When he doesn't say anything, you're excited?
I said I'm excited to whenever it does get to the birthing stage on stage. I'm excited for you because I know.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going on a tangent. That's not something. But how are you dealing with the quarantine? How is this any different than you were doing before?
I'm an introvert, and coming from LA to live in a big house in the country by myself, I've been such a hermit, so it really doesn't affect me, especially now that I have some toilet paper. But no, I don't really notice it because I spend my time in my house or in my garden. I rarely go into town. I did have some workshops that got canceled, but we're going to start doing them online, so yeah, that worked out. So I made a choice very mindfully not to worry about anything or be afraid. I just want to put that energy into the world. So I've just been kind of, taking it day by day and enjoying the day and trying to help other people. And for me, it's very chill because I'm already a mile out of town. I rarely see my neighbor, way on the other property, maybe 5 times a year. So it doesn't really affect me here.
Do you have enough?
So,
you have enough social distancing from your neighbor, and that's great.
This is basically this quarantine's my Olympics. Like I've been training for this my whole life. I'm ready for a quarantine, man. I'm good at this.
Yeah, if we were not ready, now we are. And I must say that I'm actually glad that I'm quarantined with the people that I am quarantined with, as opposed to 5 years ago. That's all I have to say. It's a blessing, really disguised, but it's great. I think it's not a bad. People seem to think it's a punishment, or we're punished to be in house arrest, basically. Martial law's coming around the corner. But you know what? I'm just looking out my window. I'm fine so far.
Yeah, it's a big crossroads. People can choose to be afraid. They can choose to be angry. They could choose to be mindful. They could choose to look at it as a cosmic lesson. But, I mean, really, it's the first time in human history I think we've ever been aware of how connected we are on such a powerful level. Like the whole world is truly connected right now. We're all on timeout. We're all like sitting here on pause and timeout, and that people are putting these little messages in a bottle to show how they're dealing with that, because we are a social species too. You know, people in Italy sharing music, or people putting out tables of, you know, groceries for people to take if they need them, or like there's a restaurant in town where if you come in from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, you can have a roll of toilet paper, no purchase necessary. I mean, kind things like that are happening. So I'm really trying to focus on that and not get too mad about all the other stuff. I mean, I'm mad about it, but I try and balance it out and remember good things are happening.
Pogo, mad? Never heard that before.
Asian people beaten up every day and Pogo's not mad? No, I'm mad about that, yeah.
Find a virus and she's not upset? Of course she's not. No, Pogo is very...
It's a lesson. You know, everything's a lesson.
Outspoken. You're very outspoken. And that's one thing that I'm grateful for you, because once in a while, somebody's got to have it, and you are there to let him have it. I'm like, thank you, Pogo. You know, I was about to do something, but you just, yeah.
I think because my dad was in a prison camp, and my whole family was, and their whole entire life after that, they were afraid. They would never speak up. Someone would rob our property twice a month, and my dad wouldn't even call the police because he didn't want the thief to get in trouble. And he didn't want anyone mad at him. He never wanted anyone mad at him. And to watch him be taken advantage of, because when word spreads you're someone who doesn't call the police, yeah, we got robbed all the time. So I'm definitely someone who will say something, because I watched what happens if you don't say something, and it lit a real fire in me about it. So I'll usually speak up if there's some kind of injustice or cruelty. I'll usually go right to the point on it. I figure, you know, I'd rather go out being brave than regret not saying or doing something.
I need to learn from you. I should listen to. We should talk to you more often, because I need to have something.
Oh, dude, it was nice to talk to you. I miss you.
I miss you too. And guys, this has actually been almost 45 minutes, so we got to wrap it up. But you know what? It was a very, very interesting discussion. I wish I could have the book now and read it and talk about it, but, you know, it's going to take me a while. But there's no rush.
Well, I'm glad
to order it online. Yeah, and so for people that haven't seen, it's on Netflix right now. I just watched it. It's in 4 chapters, so you guys can catch it on Netflix. Watership Down. I don't know why I said water down ship, and it's Watership Down. Why it wouldn't come up on my Wikipedia. But yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, or if you like to read the book first and then see the movie, like everybody else should do, but don't have time. Either way, you know, you will enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, it's good talking to you, Victor. This was great.
Good talking to you too. Have a good night, and we'll be talking soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Hit the record button.